For thousands of years, the ancient and powerful Zelther Imperium had watched over the younger species of the galaxy, hidden behind their advanced technology and unmatched wisdom. They were not conquerors, nor did they interfere in galactic politics. Their purpose was far greater. Every 1,000 years, they conducted a secret test, a challenge designed to determine which species were worthy of advancing to the next stage of evolution. It was not a test of strength, intelligence, or military might. Those things were fleeting. The Zelther sought something deeper, something beyond mere survival. Many had been tested and all had failed. The proud Tarkath, a warrior race that had conquered entire star systems, crumbled when faced with betrayal from within. The Velmari, known for their vast knowledge and wisdom, fell into despair when isolated from their endless libraries. The Cypher, master manipulators, and traitors turned on each other when their wealth was stripped away. No species had ever proven itself worthy. Now, it was humanity's turn. The Zelther did not announce the test, nor did they warn the humans that they were being watched. The true nature of a species, they believed, was only revealed in times of crisis. And so, the test began. Without warning, Earth disappeared. One moment, it was there, a shining blue world teeming with life. The next, it was gone, vanished without a trace. No explosion, no debris, just an empty void where the heart of humanity had once been. Across human colonies and space stations, panic spread like wildfire. Communications with Earth were severed, leaving billions stranded across distant worlds, uncertain of their fate. Other species watched from the shadows, expecting humanity to collapse as so many before them had. The usual pattern was clear without their homeworld. Civilizations fragmented, turning on each other in desperation. But humanity did not break at first. There was chaos, as expected. Fear gripped the scattered remnants of the species, and desperate voices called for answers. But then, something remarkable happened. Leaders emerged, not as conquerors, but as unifiers. The colonies banded together, pooling resources, sharing knowledge, and forming a network of survival. Instead of blaming each other, they searched for solutions. Instead of surrendering to despair, they adapted. The Zelther watched in silence, intrigued. Every species before them had been tested with similar devastation, yet none had responded like this. Most had turned to war, seeking enemies where none existed. But humanity? Humanity refused to give in to the darkness. The second phase of the test was more insidious. The Zelther introduced carefully placed misinformation, whispers of betrayal. False evidence surfaced, pointing to an alien race, one that humanity had long called an ally, as the culprits behind Earth's disappearance. War had always been the answer before. The Velmari had waged an endless crusade against their supposed betrayers, only to destroy themselves in the process. The Tarkath had unleashed their fleets in vengeance, annihilating countless innocent lives before falling into ruin. The Cypher had drowned in paranoia, tearing their own empire apart in the hunt for traitors. The pattern was always the same. But once again, humanity did the unexpected. Instead of blindly seeking revenge, they questioned everything. The evidence, though convincing, was not enough. They investigated, analyzed, and refused to be manipulated by fear. Diplomats worked tirelessly, reaching out instead of lashing out. Scientists searched for anomalies in the data, uncovering the deception hidden within. Humanity had every reason to strike back, every reason to unleash its fleets upon the accused. But they didn't. Instead, they pursued the truth. The Zelther were astonished. Never before had a species reacted this way. Every civilization before humanity had succumbed to their own darkness, proving themselves unworthy. But humans were different. And so, the final test was revealed. For the first time in recorded history, the Zelther Imperium made contact. Their grand ships, vast and ancient, appeared before humanity's leaders, casting long shadows over the stars. The truth was laid bare: the test, the deception, the centuries of trials that had come before. And then came the ultimate question: why? Why should humanity be allowed to ascend when all others had failed? The answer was not one of arrogance or power. Humanity did not claim to be the strongest, nor the smartest. They did not speak of their wars or their technology. Instead, they spoke of something far greater: resilience. They had lost their home, yet they stood unbroken. They had been tested with lies and deception, yet they had chosen truth over vengeance. They had been thrown into chaos, yet they had built unity from the ashes. Other species had faltered because they relied on what they had already built: armies, knowledge, wealth. But humanity's strength was different. It was in their ability to adapt, to change, to survive no matter the odds. They were not perfect, but they learned. And that, the Zelther realized, was the very essence of worthiness. For the first time in 1,000 millennia, a species had passed the test. The Zelther, beings of unimaginable power and knowledge, bowed not in submission, but in respect. Humanity was granted the gifts denied to all others: the secrets of the universe, the knowledge of civilizations long extinct, the power to shape the destiny of galaxies. The once hidden Imperium revealed itself fully, welcoming humanity into the fold of those who shaped existence itself. The rest of the galaxy stood in awe. The species they had once seen as reckless, as primitive, had done the impossible. They had defied fate, shattered expectations, and changed the course of history. Every species had failed the test except the humans. And from that moment onward, the universe would never be the same. Humanity had always believed that they were in control of their own destiny. They had spread across the stars, built great colonies on distant worlds, and forged alliances with alien civilizations. They were not the strongest, nor the most advanced, but they had something no other species had: an unbreakable will to survive. That will was about to be tested in ways they could never have imagined. Without warning, Earth disappeared. One moment, it was there, a shining blue beacon of life, and the next, it was gone. No explosion, no debris, no signs of an attack, just an empty void where the cradle of humanity had once been. Panic spread instantly. Millions of transmissions flooded the galaxy as human colonies desperately tried to reach their homeworld, but there was no response. The unified human fleet, stationed across different systems, scrambled for answers, but none came. Other species watched with curiosity, waiting for humanity to collapse as so many others had before them. Every species that had faced such a disaster had fallen into chaos, their civilizations crumbling under the weight of fear and despair. The true test was never about strength or intelligence. It was about how a species reacted when faced with complete and utter desperation. First, the pattern seemed to repeat itself. Human colonies scattered across the stars were paralyzed with fear. Resources were limited, and without Earth to anchor their supply chains, many worlds would not survive for long. Some colonies, isolated and vulnerable, turned to their neighbors for help, while others considered drastic measures to ensure their own survival. Whispers of betrayal spread, accusations flaring as people searched for someone to blame. Was it an attack from an unknown enemy? Had one of the major alien factions decided to eliminate humanity in secret? Or worse, had humanity brought this upon itself? The cracks in their unity began to form, and the galaxy watched closely, expecting them to break apart. But then, something unexpected happened. Instead of crumbling, humanity adapted. Instead of turning on each other, they organized. Leaders emerged, not as tyrants or conquerors, but as unifiers. The fleet, instead of retreating into fragmented factions, came together in a desperate but determined effort to rebuild what had been lost. Colonies pooled their resources, establishing emergency networks to ensure that no human settlement would fall into isolation. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly, not to seek revenge, but to uncover the truth behind Earth's disappearance. They did not let fear guide them. They let their relentless determination take control. Other species observed in astonishment. No civilization had ever responded this way before. When the Tarkath had lost their homeworld, they had declared war on the nearest species, blaming them without evidence and launching a campaign that ended in their own destruction. When the Velmori had faced a similar catastrophe, they had surrendered to despair, dissolving into scattered remnants of their once great empire. Humanity, however, refused to follow the same path. They did not seek vengeance blindly. nor did they give up. Instead, they sought answers. Then, the second phase of the trial began. The Zelther Imperium, the ancient and hidden overseers of the galaxy, had been watching closely. They had orchestrated similar trials for countless species before, always leading to the same outcome: failure. No species had ever passed. Now, they introduced the ultimate test: division from within. Carefully placed misinformation began spreading across human networks. Whispers that one of humanity's closest allies had been responsible for Earth's disappearance. Fabricated evidence emerged, pointing toward an alien race that had once fought against humanity in the past, but had since become an uneasy ally. It was the perfect bait. Every species before humanity had fallen for it, launching wars that ultimately led to their downfall. If humanity followed the same path, they would prove themselves unworthy of survival. But once again, humanity defied expectations. The accusations spread like wildfire, anger rising within military ranks and political circles. But instead of immediate retaliation, something remarkable happened: restraint. Humanity did not rush to war. Instead of letting their emotions take control, they investigated. Scientists and analysts worked tirelessly to dissect the so-called evidence, and soon inconsistencies were found. The pieces did not fit. Humanity had every reason to launch an attack, every justification to strike first and ask questions later. But they didn't. Instead, they chose reason over rage, truth over vengeance. The Zelther had never seen such a reaction before. The final phase of the trial was the most difficult. The Zelther revealed themselves at last, appearing before humanity's leaders in a display of unmatched power. Their grand ships, vast and ancient, descended from the shadows of the void. The truth was laid bare: Earth had not been destroyed, nor had it been attacked. It had been placed in stasis, hidden from the galaxy as part of the greatest test of worthiness. No species had ever passed before. Every civilization had failed the moment they allowed fear, anger, or selfishness to consume them. But humanity had done something different. They had not turned on themselves. They had not rushed into war. They had fought not for power, but for understanding. And that, more than anything, proved their worth. For the first time in history, a species had passed the trial of desperation. The Zelthar, once observers and judges, now became allies. Earth was restored, and with it, humanity's place in the universe changed forever. The knowledge of the ancients was open to them. Secrets that had been withheld from all others were now theirs to uncover. The galaxy, which had once doubted their resilience, now stood in awe. Humanity had faced the greatest test in existence, and they had emerged stronger than ever. The Galactic Council had long considered themselves the supreme authority of justice in the universe. Composed of the most powerful and ancient species, they dictated the rules of war, peace, and progress. To join their ranks was considered the highest honor, a recognition that a species had evolved beyond mere survival and had proven themselves worthy of shaping the destiny of the cosmos. But no species had ever been accepted without first passing the challenge of morality, a test designed not to measure strength, intelligence, or technological prowess, but to reveal the true nature of a civilization's soul. It was a trial that had seen the downfall of countless empires, exposing their hidden cruelty, greed, and selfishness. No species had ever passed. Now, it was humanity's turn. The test was never announced. That was part of its design. It had to be unexpected, unpredictable, a situation that forced the species to act without knowing they were being judged. And so, the test began in the most brutal way possible. A distress signal echoed across the void, originating from a war-torn planet at the edge of the galaxy. The Shireen, a weak and peaceful species with no military of their own, were under attack. Their world burned as an invading force. The Cathari descended upon them with no mercy. The Cathari were ruthless conquerors, known for enslaving weaker civilizations and leaving nothing but ruin in their wake. The Galactic Council had already determined the fate of the Shireen. They would be left to perish. Intervention in conflicts was forbidden by law, a law that had stood for millennia to maintain balance. The test was simple. Would humanity follow that law, or would they act against it? The council had seen this trial play out before. When the Valmeri faced it, they turned away, unwilling to risk their standing. When the Tarkath encountered the test, they saw the suffering but demanded a price before intervening. When the Cipher had their chance, they pretended to help while secretly profiting from the war. Every species had failed because when morality came at a cost, they had chosen self-interest. The humans were expected to do the same. After all, Earth was still new to the galactic stage. They had limited power, a fragile standing in interstellar politics, and enemies watching their every move. If they interfered, they risked war with the Cathari. If they acted against council law, they could be cast out before they even had a place among the great civilizations. Would they risk everything for a species that had nothing to offer? But humans were not like the others. They did not hesitate. The moment the distress call was received, the human fleet moved. Without waiting for permission, without considering the political consequences, they launched a full-scale operation to defend the Shireen. The Cathari, confident that no one would dare defy the Council's unspoken rule, were caught off guard as human warships descended upon them in coordinated precision. The battle was brutal. The Cathari were powerful, their fleets vast, but the humans fought with a ferocity that had never been seen before. They did not fight for conquest. They did not fight for resources. They fought because it was the right thing to do. The Galactic Council watched in stunned silence as the impossible unfolded before them. No species had ever defied the test in such a way. Others had turned away, some had hesitated, but no one had ever waged war for morality alone. The humans did not ask for payment. They did not seek strategic gain. They fought until every last Shireen was evacuated, until every Cathari warship was either destroyed or forced into retreat. Even when victory was certain, humanity did not seek vengeance. There were no massacres, no indiscriminate slaughter. When the Cathari finally surrendered, they were spared, given a single warning never again. The trial was not over. Victory on the battlefield was only one part of the test. The real challenge came after. The Shireen, broken and scattered, had nowhere to go. Their homeworld was ruined, and by the laws of the Council, no intervention meant no assistance. Any civilization that intervened would be expected to take full responsibility for the consequences of their actions. The Council had seen this happen before. When the Drathari saved a species in a similar test, they later abandoned them when the burden became too great. When the Zypherons rescued a dying race, they used them as cheap labor, exploiting them instead of protecting them. Would the humans do the same? But once again, humanity did what no one expected. They did not abandon the Shireen. They did not enslave them or leave them to fend for themselves. Instead, they welcomed them. Human colonies opened their borders, offering shelter, food, and protection. They did not see the Shireen as a burden. When questioned, the human leaders did not speak of profit, strategy, or power. They simply said, because it is what we would hope for if we were in their place. The Council had no words. The test was over. Humanity had passed. For the first time in galactic history, a species had proven their morality, not by following laws, not by seeking power, but by choosing what was right, no matter the cost. The Galactic Council, beings who had watched civilizations rise and fall for thousands of years, now had to acknowledge the undeniable truth: humanity was different. They had not just passed the challenge of morality. They had changed the rules entirely. The Galactic Tribunal had watched thousands of species rise and fall, each one claiming to be strong, each one eager to prove their dominance. Strength was always the measure of worth, the ultimate test that determined whether a species could stand among the great civilizations. Some proved their strength through war, crushing weaker races beneath them. Others demonstrated their might through technological supremacy, leaving the rest of the galaxy in awe. But no species had ever passed the final test, a test that did not measure power in its rawest form, but in its deepest truth. Now, it was humanity's turn. The test was never announced, never explained. That was part of its design. It came in a moment when a species least expected it, when their true nature could be revealed without preparation. And so, the test began with a simple scenario, a challenge disguised as a war. Humanity's colonies, scattered across the stars, had been thriving, expanding, proving their resilience in hostile environments. But then, without warning, the Athari arrived. A warlike race, feared across the galaxy, the Athari took what they wanted and destroyed whatever stood in their way. They had no interest in diplomacy, no patience for negotiations. Their fleet, massive and overwhelming, descended upon a human world, giving them a single choice: submit or perish. The Galactic Tribunal had seen this play out before. When the Velmari faced this trial, they surrendered without a fight. When the Drekari encountered it, they retaliated with unmatched brutality, exterminating their enemy in a show of ruthless strength. When the Cypher were tested, they sought allies, using deception and manipulation to turn the tide in their favor. Every species had failed, not because they were weak, but because they had misunderstood the meaning of true strength. Would the humans be any different? At first, humanity responded as expected. Their fleets gathered, their weapons armed, their soldiers prepared to fight to the last breath. The Athari were confident. They had faced resistance before. They had always crushed it. A war began, and the battle was unlike anything the galaxy had witnessed before. The humans did not fight with blind aggression nor reckless destruction. They fought with strategy, precision, and an unbreakable will. The Athari were powerful, but the humans did not back down. Even when outnumbered, they refused to surrender. But strength, as the Tribunal knew, was not measured only in battle. The real test was yet to come. As the war raged on, something unexpected happened. The Athari began to falter. Their assaults became less coordinated. Their supply lines crumbled. Their forces, once feared across the stars, started to break. It was then that the truth was revealed: the Athari were desperate. The reason for their attack was not conquest, not greed, but survival. Their homeworld was dying, their people starving. They had waged war not because they wished to dominate, but because they had no other choice. Their leaders had hidden this truth, hoping their strength would be enough to secure their future. But now, with their forces defeated and their empire on the verge of collapse, they had nothing left. And this was the true moment of the test. Other species had faced this exact moment before. The Tarkath had chosen annihilation, wiping their enemy from existence to prove their superiority. The Drekari had enslaved their fallen foes, using their weakness as an opportunity for control. The Velmari had turned away, letting their enemies die rather than risk responsibility. The Tribunal had seen it all, and each time, a species had failed. But humanity chose something different. They had every reason to destroy the Athari, every justification to wipe them out for their crimes. No one would have questioned their right to vengeance. But instead, they extended a hand. They did not seek conquest. They did not seek to humiliate. Instead, they offered aid. They saw the enemy not as monsters, but as a desperate people in need of mercy. Even after all the destruction, after all the bloodshed, the humans chose to help. And in that moment, the Tribunal saw something no species had ever demonstrated before. True strength was not in war. It was not in victory. It was in knowing when to stop fighting. The final test had been passed. For the first time in recorded history, a species had proven that strength was not about destruction, not about power, but about understanding. The Galactic Tribunal, beings who had judged countless civilizations, now stood in silence. Humanity had done what none before them could. They had shown that the strongest species was not the one that could win wars, but the one that could end them. And with that, humanity's place among the greatest civilizations was secured. The Galactic Council had always believed that the future of the universe belonged to the oldest and most advanced species. The great empires of the stars, the Exalari, the Drathan, the Olkoth, had ruled for thousands of years, shaping the course of history with their wisdom and power. When humanity first appeared on the galactic stage, they were dismissed as insignificant. A young species from a small planet, barely capable of interstellar travel, humans, were expected to struggle, to remain in the shadows of their elders. But what the Council had failed to understand was that humanity did not follow expectations. First, humans expanded cautiously. their colonies spreading across unclaimed worlds. They learned quickly, adapted faster than any species before them. While others took centuries to develop new technologies, humanity advanced within decades. Their ability to innovate, to push beyond limits, was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Yet it was not their intelligence or technology that made them truly dangerous, it was their will. They refused to accept failure, refused to be bound by traditions that limited them. Where others hesitated, humanity acted. Where others feared change, humanity embraced it. And soon, the galaxy began to take notice. It started with small victories. When the Rathari plague threatened to wipe out entire civilizations, it was human scientists who found the cure, sharing it freely instead of demanding payment. When the Varn rebellion broke out, tearing apart one of the most powerful empires, it was human diplomats who negotiated peace, not through threats, but through understanding. When the Kelver War erupted, and countless species stood by, unwilling to intervene, it was humanity that sent its fleets not for conquest, not for power, but because they refused to stand by while innocent worlds burned. The Council watched in disbelief as humanity defied every rule of survival. They should have been crushed by stronger empires, yet they thrived. They should have been outmaneuvered by older, wiser civilizations, yet they emerged victorious time and time again. Their strength was not in their weapons, nor in their numbers. It was in their spirit, their refusal to accept the limits placed upon them. And then the moment arrived that changed everything. A threat unlike any before it descended upon the galaxy. The Zephyr Hive, a relentless, mindless force, swept across the stars, consuming entire worlds in its path. No empire was strong enough to stop them. The great powers of the galaxy, once so confident in their dominance, now stood on the brink of extinction. The Council, which had ruled for millennia, was paralyzed by fear. They debated, argued, but did nothing. For the first time, the galaxy faced a force that could not be reasoned with, could not be bribed, could not be controlled. But humanity did not hesitate. Without waiting for permission, without seeking approval, they took action. Human fleets launched into the war, their forces striking back against the Zephyr with a ferocity the universe had never seen. They fought not for conquest, not for dominance, but because they refused to accept defeat. They refused to let billions perish while others stood idle. And as the war raged on, something extraordinary happened. Other species followed their lead. The once divided civilizations of the galaxy, long accustomed to their own rivalries and selfish ambitions, saw what humanity was willing to do. They saw the sacrifices humans made, the battles they won against impossible odds. And for the first time in history, the empires of the stars united, not because they were forced to, but because humanity inspired them to fight. The war lasted years, but in the end, the Zephyr Hive was destroyed. The galaxy was saved, and it was humanity that had made it possible. The Council, once so certain of humanity's place as an insignificant race, now stood in awe. They had thought that strength came from power, from ancient wisdom, from control, but humanity had proven them wrong. Strength was not in dominance, but in the willingness to fight for others. Wisdom was not in age, but in the courage to embrace change. And so, for the first time in recorded history, the Galactic Council made a decision that no one had ever imagined. They did not offer humanity a seat at their table. They gave humanity the right to lead. It was an unprecedented future, one no species had foreseen. Humanity, once ignored, once underestimated, was now the guiding force of the galaxy. Not because they had conquered, not because they had demanded power, but because they had proven that the future did not belong to those who ruled through fear. It belonged to those who dared to fight for something greater than themselves. And so, as humanity stepped forward to shape the destiny of the stars, the galaxy knew one undeniable truth: this was only the beginning.